Tonight in 9 News, protest nightmare. The anti-vax mob hits the suburbs as police are forced to isolate because of an infected protester. A young family assaulted and bitten by a dog while having a picnic. Daniel Andrews' roadmap in serious doubt after Victoria misses its first vaccination target. No golf or tennis this Sunday. Titans of business, politics and sport pay tribute to John Dorman Elliott. And the wait is almost over. Special coverage of the grand final from home and away.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Good evening. On the day we should be enjoying the grand final parade, a far more disturbing spectacle in Melbourne. Anti-vax protesters taking their shameful campaign from the city to the suburbs. But they're not only spreading fear, several police officers have been forced to isolate after being exposed to a COVID-positive activist. Crime reporter Lana Murphy.
Far from the streets of the CBD, a military-like response at a Northcote park. The riot squad surrounding a group of anti-vax activists that moved in around 2 p.m.
Every day! Every day!
After being driven out of the city, the small but vocal mob gathered momentum around Northcote Plaza before they were cornered at All Nations Park. One by one, they were arrested by police in front of young families and picnic goers soaking up the sunshine.
I can't even get a job now because I make a decision not to have a vaccine. 30 years I've been in my industry.
Some were familiar faces.
John, can you turn your phone on, please? Stand up and put your hands behind your back, please. You're under arrest.
Others newly recruited to the cause.
Fight for our freedom.
But most onlookers wouldn't have it.
There's families here and that. I thought it was pretty inappropriate.
It's disgraceful. I don't know what they're protesting for.
Tensions escalating as walls of armed police surrounded the forecourt, the critical incident response team swooping in.
Oh my God.
Teenagers were tackled to the ground while others tried to prove they were out for their daily exercise.
It seems very heavy-handed and over the top.
One of the biggest concerns is this crowd could be spreading COVID. A man who marched among the mob of 400 on Wednesday was hospitalised hours after storming the Shrine of Remembrance. He was arrested by multiple police officers. They've been made to isolate, depleting an already exhausted force which has turned out in numbers and been assaulted almost every day for a week.
Think about the Victorian police members who have had to put themselves in harm's way to protect the rest of us. Think about those Victoria Police members' families.
Whether or not this is a super spreader event, we'll see a picture of it in a couple of weeks' time. No one in the public health team was remotely surprised that someone would turn up positive.
The Chief Health Officer, tired of the misinformation spreading through the self-proclaimed freedom fighters.
They think that everything will be solved by taking a horse deworming tablet. Let's not pretend that these are otherwise rational individuals. They are absolutely wacky.
The leadership within this movement is beginning to show. Today, demonstrators nominated 6 different locations, but police were ready for them every time. And now the activists are turning on each other.
Definitely does need some leadership.
But one infected construction worker is leading the front with this plea.
Not to go on the street and fight against or anything like that. What are you doing is spreading the virus.
Nathan Chalier contracted COVID at a Box Hill development responsible for around 70 infections. The health and safety officer determined to get back to work, but doesn't want his colleagues to go through the same pain.
People up there fighting for their life, and I was one stage fighting for my life. Please go and get vaccinated.
Lana Murphy, 9 News.
Lana's at Northcote Police Station. Lana, how many people have been arrested?
Pete, 200 people were arrested today. It was one of the force's most successful days. 31 of those arrests took place here at Northcote, and all up 215 people will be issued with fines for breaching the Chief Health Officer's directions. Sadly, I can confirm a number of other police officers have been injured once again after being pelted with rocks by protesters. They say they will be back again tomorrow from noon, but they're not revealing the location to the public. Pete?
Lana Murphy reporting. A distressed mother has been brought to tears after 2 young families were set upon by enraged anti-vaxxers in Blackburn North. They were physically assaulted and verbally abused while having a picnic in their local park. Adam Hegarty spoke to them.
If you're part of Melbourne's angry, abusive minority, the tears of this distraught victim and mother might help you turn a corner.
They should be ashamed of themselves. They can have their views, but they don't need to force them upon other people or attack other people that share different views.
Jackie, her friend and their two 12-year-old daughters were having a picnic here at Slater Reserve yesterday when they were assaulted just for following the rules.
My daughter was smart enough, I guess, to go and call police. That's when other people started helping, because I would try and help Karina and he was trying to set his dog on me every time I tried to help her. So I just wish I could have helped her more.
Police say their attackers were this man and woman and, if you can believe it, 4 to 5 children aged under 15. The two mothers were kicked, coughed on and berated, their masks pulled off. They were even put in headlocks.
They were trying to rip our masks off, telling us that, you know, we're afraid of a cold, we're afraid of the flu, and then trying to cough on us.
It's just erupted from there into a vicious assault of these two ladies and utilising a dog to attack two males who have tried to help these ladies.
You can have your own views and that's fine, but to take it out on other people like this, it's just disgusting.
Alex Kimberley was one of 3 onlookers who tried to help, only for the male attacker to set his dog on them before fleeing.
He walked behind me and then the next thing I know the dog's latched onto my arm. The fear in her eyes, it was full on, and there's kids kicking her at the same time. I just couldn't believe it.
To make matters worse, it was initially the two 12-year-old girls verbally abused when they noticed this group tearing off nearby QR codes. When the mothers stepped in, that's when it escalated. It's now very unlikely they'll bring them back here.
Our kids didn't sleep last night.
Police now on the hunt to track the attackers down. If you recognise them, they want your help.
Most importantly, we're appealing to this family to contact us. Come forward, we'll talk to you and we'll resolve this incident.
Adam Hegarty, 9 News.
Melbourne will trip at the first roadmap hurdle, the government confirming we will not meet the 80% first dose target by Sunday. And as Stephanie Anderson tells us, a record week of vaccinations was still not enough to get us over the line.
A public holiday picnic had some in a spin, but hopes of more freedoms this weekend have been dashed.
These projections bounce around based on all sorts of measures.
The government roadmap estimated 80% of us would have had at least one dose by Sunday, allowing the return of golf, basketball, tennis and cricket with the same numbers as picnics, as well as a bump in the travel limit and personal training for up to 5 fully vaccinated people outside.
It was an ambitious target. We'll probably be a day or two behind it.
For the government to throw us a crumb and then take that crumb away, it is just mind-blowing. I don't know what is happening here in Victoria.
Those timelines and vax targets now determine our future, but tracking how we're tracking differs greatly depending where you look. Independent analysts COVID Live and DB Raven have crunched the numbers using 7-day averages of second doses. They estimate we should be 70% double vaxxed by November 12. That's more than 2 weeks after the roadmap target.
Now that Moderna's only just come on in the last week through the pharmacy network, I think the rates will definitely pick up.
733 new cases were confirmed across Victoria in the past 24 hours, as well as another death, a woman in her 80s from the northern suburbs. 297 people are being treated in hospital, and while the Health Minister says the system is managing the load, more elective surgeries will soon be cancelled.
The government really needs to give us more than just a trust me, that they've got it in hand.
And on the eve of another grand final where the celebrations will be socially distanced, the health chief is pleading, please stick to the rules.
Put your iPad up, have your phones on FaceTime, cry and scream and laugh and joke over the internet.
And Steph is at Whitten Oval. Steph, the Chief Health Officer doesn't want celebrations heading there.
That's right, Pete, and temptation will be high both in the Bulldogs camp and in the Demons, but he is saying win, lose or draw, please keep the parties at home and within the restrictions. The curfew will still be in place tomorrow night, so moving around after the final siren would be in breach of that. And here at Whitten Oval, they're going a step further. The gates will actually be closed to the public from 6 tomorrow night through until 7 on Monday morning to try and reduce the risk of a crowd gathering here to either celebrate or commiserate that grand final result. Pete.
OK, thank you, Stephanie Anderson. A Dandenong vaccination site will be the first state-run hub to offer the Moderna jab instead of Pfizer for under 60s. The Health Minister says the pivot to the Moderna brand is not about vaccine quality but quantity. Medical reporter Emily Rice.
With little else to do in lockdown, 30-year-old Calaselvan from Dandenong, his dad, brothers and cousins decided to get vaccinated at this popular pop-up clinic in the centre of Dandenong.
We thought we are free today. Why not just pop in?
From Tuesday, the Dandenong Marquee will be the first state-run hub to offer Moderna, replacing Pfizer for the 12 to 59-year-old cohort.
So what's really good about the Moderna vaccine coming to us is it allows us to do a lot more vaccinations.
Otherwise known as Spikevax, the vaccine does not contain live virus. Rather, it has genetic code that helps your immune system recognise and fight coronavirus. The Health Minister says more Moderna will soon be on offer at state clinics.
Given some of the issues around Pfizer supply, we will be pivoting more of our pop-up sites in Moderna in the coming weeks, so as to ensure that that really strong drive of Victorians to get vaccinated in their communities in safe and accessible locations does not lose momentum.
The latest daily vaccination increase is more than 101,000. More than 76% of Victorians have had one dose and 46% are fully vaccinated. Despite conjecture over the speed of Victoria's vaccine rollout, Monash Health says its staff are busier than ever.
We set this Dandenong pop-up up a couple of weeks ago and have been doing about 1,000 vaccinations a day.
Another reason why this pop-up is so popular is because appointments aren't necessary. Anyone who's eligible can just turn up, queue up and get their shot 9 to 5, 7 days a week.
We got our chance now, so we are all here to take the next step forward.
Emily Rice, 9 News.
As thousands of fans greeted the grand finalists, Melbourne skipper Max Gawn has declared they're ready to deliver for all of Victoria. Live to Ed and Woolley at Optus Stadium, Ed, they haven't forgotten where they've come from.
They certainly haven't, Pete. While those players lapped up the adulation of a 10,000 strong crowd here at Optus Stadium for those open sessions today, their minds certainly wandering to the fans back in Victoria who couldn't make it. They're acutely aware how lucky they are to be here in Perth, and any wonder as they prepare to do battle for this piece of silverware, the Premiership Cup tomorrow night. Now, it was today as a mark of respect out of the fans who couldn't be here that Lord Mayor Basil Zemplis proposed a round of applause at the 20-minute mark of the first quarter. It's fair to say that hasn't received the warmest of receptions. Regardless, the wait is almost over for one of these clubs to hold this cup aloft tomorrow night. Welcome to Grand Final Week, Perth style. With no official parade, this was the final chance for fans to get a look at their heroes ahead of the biggest game of the year.
It's an amazing experience for all of us, I think. One that we'll never forget.
I'm probably going to cry if they win and cry if they lose.
I've never stopped dreaming about this day.
With Melbourne the first to hit Optus Stadium, Max Gawn was king. Then when the Dogs emerged, it was Bailey Smith who got the rockstar treatment. They came from far and wide, one family road trip that began in Melbourne 4 months ago, certainly paying off.
And Mum said, we've got tickets, we're going to the grand final, and we were just laughing and talking about it the whole way through the car.
The players acutely aware the bulk of their fans are stuck back in Victoria. Under any normal circumstances, the two captains and that cup would have been presented at Yarra Park.
Both teams have been able to come over here in sunny Perth and be able to live our dreams to be able to play in a grand final. So we both have a responsibility to get out there and perform at our best and make our members and families and supporters proud.
But this has been no normal season. The week off before the grand final also allowing the coaches a little downtime.
I went to the Scarborough pool yesterday and swam down there and not swimming too far out in the Indian Ocean with the little men in grey suits out there.
Took a little drive to a place called Yanchep and laid on the beach, and then went up to the pub and had a palmer and a pot and just reflected on the challenge and the year that's been.
By this time tomorrow night, both men and the thousands of nervous supporters watching on might be wishing for something a little stronger. In Perth, Ayrton Woolley, 9 News.
With just over 24 hours until the first bounce in Perth, Demons and Bulldog supporters back home in Melbourne are gearing up to support their clubs from the couch. As Eliza Rugg found out, fans are finding creative ways to show off their team pride.
After a dog of a year, the Morris family in Footscray finally has something to look forward to.
I have to have an early sleep for tomorrow.
Dad Brett donated his membership to some deserving supporters.
Sent our barcodes over to some people in Western Australia, so some nurses over there, so they're getting used.
Also in Bulldogs' heartland in Footscray, Gordon Taylor is starting to feel the pressure.
I've been to every grand final that we've played in. This will be the first time I've ever watched it on television live. I'm very nervous.
100-year-old Marjorie McDonald has witnessed both of the Bulldogs' grand final wins. She'll be watching this year's game from her South Melbourne nursing home.
Go doggies now, go doggies.
Up near Stall, Archie McPherson and his pet sheep are going all out, including matching mullets.
It was Dad's idea. Every football player nearly has it, so I might as well have.
As for Mad Demons fans, John Amos is a club favourite. The players even found time to send him a video.
He's been very excited and he's been crying. We'll be together and we'll be watching it and saying, "Go Dee!"
Football rivalry was on show at the South Melbourne market, with shoppers stocking up for a grand final feast.
We got a seafood grand final pack, which is full of crayfish, prawns and the St Helens oysters.
Melbourne-themed cupcakes had almost sold out at Illy's Cakes in Malvern.
We have had Western Bulldogs orders though, but definitely more the Demons.
While in St Kilda East, Simon Sheedy and his two daughters have made sure their neighbours know who they're barracking for.
Painted the gate. We've been barracking for the D's for, well, a while.
So while footy fans are disappointed there won't be a game here tomorrow, supporters of the winning team will hopefully be in the stands early next year when the premiership flag is unfurled.
Hopefully when the restrictions allow, we can all get together and celebrate, maybe watch a replay of the game.
Eliza Rugg, 9 News.
Raising money to help fight children's cancer is the focus of tonight's footy show Grand Final Eve My Room Telethon. Tony Jones is there ahead of what's set to be a huge show. Looks like fun, Tony.
Well, yeah, despite the fact Nathan Brown will be on it as well, Pete. But yeah, it is going to be a terrific night. And I've got to say, it has in recent years become a bit of a grand final eve tradition, hasn't it, Nath?
Certainly has, raising a lot of money for charity tonight. Can't wait to get into it, can't wait for the grand final. But tonight, it's very special.
It is indeed. And of course, among our very special guests will be the two captains, Max Gawn and also Marcus Bontempelli. You've suddenly become a Bulldog again. I mean, you've been a Tiger the past few years.
I certainly have. Look, I just roll with the breeze anytime. So I'm hoping the Bulldogs win this game. I think they can. They're the two best sides in it. It's going to be an auspicious occasion over there in Perth, and I'm just happy I beat you in the Millionaire Hot Seat.
Yeah. How did you do that, by the way?
A little bit of luck, but it was just mainly that I'm smarter than you.
Yeah, and you sort of rolled the dice by trotting out auspicious just before. Were you a little worried about that when you were doing it?
I was. I workshopped that in my head about 3 minutes ago, and it came out lovely.
Okay, but this is a very important night. It is digging deep for the My Room Telethon, which raises very, very important and much-needed money for childhood cancer in trying to eradicate it and also raising awareness and the research into trying to eradicate it as well. So, anyway, we've got a lot coming up in sport, I've got to say. We'll have more definitive words on the grand final. Matthew Lloyd will join us. We get Matthew to do that. You do the other stuff. And I just want to show you these, though. Have a look at these scenes. These are live chopper shots now of the MCG. And I tell you what, as if we're not feeling bad enough that the grand final is over in Perth, these scenes really drive it home.
It does. It's a pretty sad place to be in Victoria at the moment. But we need to work together, and we'll be back next year bigger and better.
And just looking at those shots, Nathan, does that take you back to your playing days with those empty stands? Sort of?
It certainly does, Tony. It certainly does. How many fans did you play to?
Tonight, about 300,000, Nathan.
Yeah.
Anyway, now, do you? You've got a lifelong ambition. Would you like to carry it out?
I have. Back to you in the studio, Pete.
OK, thank you, Nath. Well played. And Tony, more power to you both. Next in 9 News, the passing of John Dorman Elliott. Liberal stalwarts and Carlton legends remember a true maverick, our special tribute. Plus, a federal arrest warrant issued for Gabby Petito's missing fiancé, and the heart-stopping moment a train came too close for comfort. Business, sport and political leaders are paying tribute to John Elliott after the colourful figure who dominated the headlines in the 80s died in hospital. His son, broadcaster Tom Elliott, is urging the Carlton Football Club to once again embrace the man who led them to 2 premierships. Tony Jones has the story.
Rarely has an Australian life been as successful, as colourful or as controversial as the life of John Dorman Elliott.
No comment today. I'm watching the football today. I hope Carlton win.
Business, football and politics. John Elliott made an almost unrivalled contribution to all 3. His other role was that of dad.
But I think, to be honest, the most important thing was his family. He had a lot of life lessons for us. You know, make your own way in the world, do your own thing, don't expect anything from me.
His business brain took him to the top of the corporate world. Elliott's control of Elders IXL transformed the foods manufacturer into a giant, adding CUB to the growing stable and taking Foster's to the world. His business acumen had him once touted as a future Prime Minister.
The party wasn't in good shape federally, and there was a push to get him into Higgins.
Already installed as federal president of the Liberal Party, parachuting Elliott into the safe seat of Higgins would have been the first step to the Lodge.
Oh, we're certainly going for the leadership.
The man who currently holds the key to the Lodge, Scott Morrison, today saying, big lives always have their critics, make their fair share of mistakes, but mostly there is something about them that capture their times.
John Elliott was a larrikin and a larger-than-life figure, a very proud Victorian who made a huge impact on the sporting world, on the corporate world and on the political world.
He was part of that generation of the 1980s, the entrepreneurial generation. They really revved up the business community.
Sport also formed a huge part of John Elliott's life. Melbourne Cup Day had him rubbing shoulders with royalty, a prince and princess on this day in 1985. But it was at Princes Park where Elliott's true sporting passion was to be found. Carlton.
We are the old dark baby blues.
For 20 years he presided over his beloved Blues, celebrating 2 premierships.
If we lost, he wouldn't come down the rooms. If we won, he was front and centre. So he demanded success, and I suppose that's what rubs on all us blokes that knew him in the early days.
The description of John would be that the Carlton blood, in a real sense, ran through his veins.
But Elliott's days at Carlton didn't end well when the club was penalised heavily for salary cap breaches. He was to be thrown from office by his one-time lieutenant Ian Collins and his name stripped from a grandstand. It was one of football's more inglorious downfalls. Regardless, he remained a true blue right to the end.
I'd love the Carlton Football Club to do something. I know his departure from Carlton wasn't under the best of circumstances, but he absolutely loved the place with a passion.
Elliott's personal life also had its upheavals, not least when he sold his Toorak mansion, unbeknownst to his wife Amanda.
Apparently something I wasn't involved in, so it's all a bit upsetting to me.
He was a dream for cartoonists, that large nose accentuated on sketch pads right around the country. But the satire didn't end there.
Pig's ass!
Elliott was keen to set the record straight when it came to that now famous catch cry.
I never said it once in my life.
In remembering John Elliott, it's near impossible to shy away from the controversies his quest for success garnered. But he was a fiercely devoted Australian who, in his heyday, might well have led the country. Although one suspects, as he slipped away last night, John Dorman Elliott did so with not one regret.
I don't spend any of my life worrying about what might have been.
Tony Jones, 9 News.
The FBI has issued an arrest warrant for missing Florida man Brian Laundrie. He's accused of using a debit card during the time his girlfriend Gabby Petito was missing. She was eventually found dead in Wyoming bushland. It came as police intensified their search for Laundrie in a reserve not far from his home. And the lights were flashing and the barriers down, but this woman in the Netherlands still insisted on crossing the tracks, and it almost cost her her life. She somehow managed to avoid being hit by the speeding train, but only by a few centimetres. Madeline Slattery joins us now live from the My Room telethon. Maddie, you've got one of the telethon special guests with you.
Yeah, I've actually got 2 guests with me. You can see we've got Josh from Reptile Encounters and this gorgeous goanna. Now, Josh, you'll be joining Billy Brownless later tonight because he loves his animal facts, doesn't he?
Absolutely, yes. We've got some live animals here, so I can't tell you what they are. It's a surprise, but they'll be coming out and, yeah, we're going to have some fun.
Yeah, well, we know one of them. We've got Pano here, who's a goanna.
He's a goanna. He's a yellow-spotted monitor, a very heavy, stocky lizard found in the top end of Australia.
And that tongue is incredible too.
Yeah, very good sense of smell. Like a snake, they have a forked tongue, so he could smell in stereo.
Oh, wow. And we're going to get Pano to do a little forecast, not for the weather, but to pick the winner of tomorrow's match.
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe he's going to use that tongue to good use. Okay, we do have some food in each of these cups down here, so I'll place him down here.
Hopefully, where is he leaning to? He's got, he's kind of hovering over the Melbourne Cup. Doesn't know about it yet. Would we say that's a winner? Do you reckon that? He's not quite going for it yet. This might be a long segment, Pete.
He's thinking about it.
He certainly is. Well, we might have to keep you updated when I have the weather later in the bulletin. But thanks so much for joining us,
That's
Josh.
right.
Have a great time tonight.
Go on, Maddie, go on. Pick the goanna up, go on. No, don't. Thank you, Maddie. In the news ahead, Melbourne's famous laneways converted into night markets. Could it kickstart the CBD? Plus, Australia and India move closer to a major trade deal. And Harry and Meghan's first public appearance together since the birth of baby Lilibet.
9 News, brought to you by Nearmap, the most intelligent aerial map on Earth.
Major crash investigators want to know if 2 cars spotted on the South Gippsland Highway were racing with a car involved in a crash which killed an elderly couple in Devon Meadows a week ago. 2 Holden Commodores, one silver, one maroon, were seen just before the tragedy at 1:25 p.m. The surviving driver has been charged with culpable driving. In a few hours, Scott Morrison will attend a historic global summit at the White House as the leaders of the Quad Alliance meet in person. Australia, America, Japan and India will discuss climate change, COVID and China. More from Amelia Adams.
Reunited with an old friend.
Lovely to see you. I've got a long time. It has.
Scott Morrison and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi warming up for tomorrow's Quad Summit, announcing a low-emissions technology deal.
A partnership that will focus on hydrogen development, ultra-low-cost solar programs to support their energy transition.
Buoyed by Australia's new pact with America and Britain to build nuclear submarines.
What impact do you think the AUKUS deal will have on perhaps the dynamic in the room tomorrow at the Quad?
We see the Quad and the trilateral partnership of AUKUS as being completely complementary.
India and Japan aren't included but have welcomed the plan to ramp up security, bonded by concerns about China.
We all want to work together to create a free and open Indo-Pacific, and everybody benefits from that.
Beijing insists the Quad is doomed to fail and the AUKUS pact will stoke an arms race. Scott Morrison gaining support from congressional committees who'll soon be responsible for scrutinising legislation to turn the agreement into reality.
The US President has made security in the Indo-Pacific a priority of his administration, and tomorrow's summit here at the White House has Australia centre stage. The leaders will also focus on economic recovery from the COVID pandemic.
The Prime Minister spending time with chiefs of the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank and the Federal Reserve, comparing pandemic jitters.
We discussed the global economy, we discussed the domestic economy here in the United States. I was able to talk about what has been a pretty remarkable economic performance for Australia.
A Washington whirlwind it's hoped will bring stability and security to our part of the world. In Washington DC, Amelia Adams, 9 News.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have stepped out in New York visiting the September 11 Memorial and World Trade Centre. Harry and Meghan will attend the Global Citizen event tomorrow, campaigning for vaccine equality in poorer countries. It's the Duchess's first public appearance since the birth of daughter Lilibet in June. There's a new plan to transform some of the CBD's popular laneways and streets into bustling outdoor markets. It's hoped the initiative will help struggling retailers by bringing people back into the heart of Melbourne. Elizabeth Moss has more.
It's synonymous with Melbourne coffee and culture, but these days De Grave Street is quiet.
It's a real shame to see it like this now.
Soon, businesses like Il Papiro will be out on the street, but not in the way you might think.
We're literally saying bring your business out onto the street. If you want to bring out a rack of clothes, a trestle table full of gifts, whatever it takes to help them be able to serve people.
The City of Melbourne's Inside Out plan will see our famous laneways and streets gates shut to traffic to allow hospitality and retail to move outside. It'll be rolled out once 70% of Victorians are double dosed, hopefully in late October.
An opportunity to browse through, see what we have before having to even commit to walking into the store.
People are calm and chilled, and obviously it's a lot safer here than in the shopping centre because it's open air.
The council also wants trading hours extended into the night, such markets already popular around the world.
It means that we can create a bit of a festive vibe in the street, which it's been lacking.
Pedestrian levels in the CBD have dropped to around 15 to 20% of pre-COVID levels. It's hoped this new initiative will be another reason to get people back to the city.
We're going to try everything. We need to try everything because our beautiful city, we can reinvent it now.
Elizabeth Moss, 9 News.
Ahead in 9 News, how air purifiers will help protect our school kids from COVID. And a swarm of bees creates quite the buzz on a busy street. To finance now, and the ASX closed lower, the All Ordinaries dropping by 0.4%, hauled down by mining and real estate stocks. Banks recovered for a second straight day. And a quick check of the currency, our dollar's fetching 72.7 US cents and almost 62 euro cents. Unbelievable scenes on a suburban shopping strip. A man heading home after getting groceries to find a swarm of bees had found a new home. His Jeep. By sheer luck, an apiarist was nearby, and after a few stings and some smoke, the swarm was on its way again. There's a rush to buy air purification systems after the state government announced they'll be installed in schools. While infectious diseases experts say they're effective in most settings, they may not be enough to stop COVID spreading in the home. More from Justine Conway.
A delivery to help keep schools open. Today, the first of 51,000 air purification systems touched down direct from the Samsung factory in Korea.
We're seeing a significant increase in demand for these products.
Air purifiers can result in up to 10 times reduced risk.
Professor Jason Monty has helped oversee the installation of air purifiers in hospitals.
But when you cough or sneeze, the virus comes out on these aerosols. They're very tiny, so that's why you need something like an air cleaner to take those aerosols out of the air.
While the units are about to become standard in Victorian schools, the Doherty Institute this week raised questions about their effectiveness. Our health chief allaying fears.
It's probably stronger than most other interventions that are going to be in place in schools.
Meanwhile, demand from businesses has surged.
For us, it really came down to giving us a peace of mind that we're doing everything we possibly can to look after our patients and our staff when it comes to this growing pandemic.
Wellco Pure, a Melbourne company that installs air purifiers, has been inundated with calls from homeowners too.
The last couple of weeks, demand has definitely increased, maybe 100 to 200% on inquiries.
We've reviewed about 30 models over the last couple of years. They can range from anywhere under just under $200 up to $1,500 or more.
When it comes to buying an air purifier for home, experts say there are a few things to consider. The first is the size of the room it's going in. The second is the filter. HEPA filters are most effective at trapping tiny COVID particles, but they may not be enough to stop the spread of a virus in a typical household.
In the home, people are very close together, so there's lots of other ways that they can transmit the virus other than aerosol transmission.
Justine Conway, 9 News.
Now returning to the My Room Telethon for sport, Tony Jones.
Thanks again, Pete. Things are really starting to build here in terms of excitement. In fact, after the break, it is the final countdown and we're live to Ayrton Woolley over in Perth. Also coming up, Maxi puts friendship aside in the search for the ultimate prize. Bevo's emotional admission ahead of the big day. And Bellamy warns of a battle-hardened Penrith. Welcome back to the My Room Telethon studio. Melbourne skipper Max Gawn has declared he is unfazed by the prospect of a physical barrage from the Dogs in tomorrow's grand final. Let's head live again to Ayrton Woolleys over in Perth. Ayrton, the time for talk just about over.
It certainly is, Tony, and there has been a lot of talking done in the past fortnight. Of course, the longest build-up to a grand final we've ever experienced with the pre-grand final bye. Speaking to a few of the players today, they're certainly itching to get out here on Optus Stadium tomorrow night. Among those players, of course, is Max Gawn, and he's ready for whatever comes his way. Already a favourite of the Melbourne faithful, Max Gawn can secure his place in Demon Folklore tomorrow night. But while every bit of advice he's got from past players this week has been helpful, he's keeping his own counsel.
In the end, I'm going to do it my way. I'm not going to do it the way that these people have told me to do. I'm going to do this week the way I want to do this week.
The Demons were the first to hit Optus Stadium for their final training run ahead of the grand final. The coach content with the work they've put in over the past fortnight.
We've trained hard, we've done a lot of competitive work. We feel like our game's in good shape and our players are ready.
For Gawn, a showdown with Steph Martin now awaits.
I can't get my mind off that first centre bounce just because he's an interesting character. He's a real close friend. We've been texting this week. I'm not sure if everyone's going to be looking at that ruck battle as the centrepiece of that game, but I certainly think it's a genuine battle within a battle.
The skipper is also prepared for the Dogs to attack him physically. As far as he's concerned, bring it on.
There's all sorts of games that might be played come Saturday, but I'm not too fussed. If I have no influence on the game and we win, I'm still a pretty happy man.
Another man who's certainly been central to the Demon revival this season has been Mark Williams, who'll lean on his own grand final experience as a premiership-winning coach at Port Adelaide in helping relax the players.
The similarity certainly would be that, we haven't been here and are we ready? And, I can give the group a lot of confidence in the fact that you don't have to be there multiple times to win.
In Perth, Ayrton Woolley, 9 News.
Bulldogs coach Luke Beveridge has opened up on the emotional decision to axe two of his players for tomorrow night's granny, and he's somewhat playing down the advantage of having prevailed on the big stage only 5 years ago. More from Corey Norris.
While the Demons might be sentimental favourites, there's certainly no lack of support for the Dogs in the West. One man in particular took it all in his stride, poster boy Bailey Smith, sending hearts aflutter. Only hours earlier, Luke Beveridge was breaking them, with the omission of Latham Vandermeer and Ryan Gardner.
A little bit emotional, as you can imagine. Ultimately, the hope is that the boys who have missed out have got this vision of themselves getting an opportunity maybe next year and in the future.
It's taken the Dogs 5 years to get back onto this stage, and while they're set to draw on the experiences of that triumph in 2016, this time round is a different beast.
If you look at their faces, how wide-eyed they were, it was almost like every one of them was saying to each other, did that just happen? It hasn't been that sort of meteoric type rise. It has been a team that's been consistent all year, and so our expectations have been a little bit different.
Marcus Bontempelli was in just his third season. He's now the skipper, and he's been determined to stay as relaxed as he can until that first bounce.
Enjoy the ride. You never know when your next opportunity might be, so give yourself up, I guess, to the build-up a little bit.
They did that today, hoping it all pays off tomorrow. Corey Norris, 9 News.
OK, for the definitive word on how this will play out tomorrow, we're joined by Essendon Premiership star Matthew Lloyd. What do you think?
TJ, Melbourne have only played once in 28 days, but I think they're the best side in it. So they just need to start well, and I think they can take control of this game. I think Max Gawn's a dominant player. I don't think they have anyone who can cope with him. So the Dogs will want to come out of the blocks well. But if the Demons are in at quarter time, half time, I think they'll run over the top of the Western Bulldogs after half time and win their grand final and break the drought.
Oh, yeah. And what about yourself? I mean, take you back to your own grand final night. I mean, how do you sleep?
Oh, you struggle, but you just try and switch off your phone. Don't have anyone ringing you for grand final tickets. Turn the phone off. You've got to do all those things just to make sure you're ready to go at that first bounce.
All right, well, we'll see you here in a bit over half an hour. You better head into makeup.
You're in my sights at what caught my eye too, TJ, so I'm going to prepare for that one.
Terrific. OK, thanks for that, Matthew. That sort of unsettled me a little bit there. Anyway, so there goes Matthew Lloyd. No, seriously. And on the eve of Melbourne Storm's preliminary final against the Panthers, Coach Craig Bellamy has urged his side to keep things simple as they chase a spot in next weekend's grand final.
There's things in our game that, we do every week. That's what's important to us as a footy team, and that's what helps us be successful as a footy team.
Live coverage of the match begins right here on Channel 9 from 3 o'clock tomorrow. Now, just before we head back, I want to head back over to Perth because Kane Corns is standing by. Kane, good evening to you.
Hello TJ, I am at the magnificent Optus Stadium. It's phenomenal. There's a party going on up there. This legend is painting the 50-metre arc and the Bulldogs will be running through this very tunnel in just over 24 hours time. So the build-up's been magnificent and it's going to be on about this time tomorrow night.
Now, of course, you're doing your bit for the My Room Telethon because you're about to jump on that treadmill and start what will be a full-blown full marathon, 42.2 kilometres, and you're doing it to raise money. I don't quite know how you're going to do it, though.
Well, either do I, TJ, so we may as well get it going because it's going to take me probably over 3 hours. So I'll hit the start button. I'll see you in a couple of minutes, and we'll start this treadmill and see if we can run a marathon for the kids.
Well, it's an amazing effort, Kane, so good luck to you, mate, and you'll probably finish, well, while we're on air, that's for sure. So an amazing effort there from Kane Corns over in Perth, doing it for the kiddies. Now, speaking of marathon runners, Maddie rejoins us again. You're getting set for the marathon, aren't you?
Oh, maybe a half. Marathon could be generous, but Kane runs so fast.
Yeah, exactly. Now, is it fair to say it might actually be a bit of a blessing that the grand final's in Perth this year?
Absolutely. It's looking very cold here in Melbourne tomorrow. Some true footy weather ahead. On the contrary, it'll be 25 degrees in Perth tomorrow, and I'll have the full weekend forecast for you next. Hello again from the My Room Telethon, and our grand final eve weather has been a little better than expected. There's been showers to Melbourne's north and south, but so far we've missed out. The cool change and showers are expected to hit Geelong any minute now and should arrive in the city by 10. So it's been quite a mild day with a top of 19 degrees, but very windy. It's clocked 89 kilometres an hour just off Portsea, 76 at St Kilda and Avalon, 72 at Tullamarine. Showers have been confined to southern and mountain areas today, and areas around West and South Gippsland have had the highest totals so far. Wilson's Prom has done the best with 9 millimetres, but the winds have been the big story there today. A gust of 122 kilometres an hour was recorded just after 4 p.m. So the feels-like temperature there has been as low as -6 this afternoon. It stayed a little cool through the southwest with maximums of 15 and 16, but Mallacoota and Mildura warmed up to 25. A severe weather warning for damaging winds is still in place for the exposed coast around Wilson's Prom and also the northeast ranges, but winds should ease later this evening. And while it won't be as windy tomorrow, it'll be very cold and snow is expected as low as 800 metres during the morning. The cold air mass that's moving over us will deliver a very chilly night. Ballarat is forecast to drop to 1 degree and Horsham 2. Then tomorrow, locations south of the ranges will struggle to reach the low teens, and Mallacoota will take quite a drop. 25 today, just 12 tomorrow. There'll be scattered showers on and south of the ranges with the chance of some small hail along the coast during the morning. Melbourne is in for a chilly night with minimums of 3 degrees forecast for Avalon and Ferny Creek, 4 for Epping and Tullamarine. Then it's only expected to reach 13 or 14. There could be a light shower or two in the morning, more likely across the Dandenong Ranges. Now, Shane Crawford has joined me here. You're going to help me with the rest of the 7-day forecast.
Yes, Maddie.
But first, you're wearing a pretty cool jacket. It looks great at the front.
Yes, but even better at the back for those Melbourne supporters. There is the great Max Gawn. We'll be auctioning this off tonight on the telethon, the My Room Telethon. And we also have one for the Western Bulldogs lovers out there. We have Bailey Smith and all that hair that he has.
It's quite extraordinary, isn't it? And it's going towards a great cause.
Yeah, great cause. Going to be a wonderful night and cannot wait for the grand final, which is going to be an absolute beauty.
Have you got a hot tip for tomorrow?
No, just football's the winner.
Football's the winner, but you do have some info on the weather, so take it away.
I do. Here comes the weather. There's a couple of frosty mornings ahead, a low of 5 degrees on Sunday morning, then partly cloudy, top of 16, getting down to 5 again on Monday, but then it should warm up to 20, up to 23 on Tuesday, but we'll get some showers in the afternoon. Then a wet day on Wednesday, as much as 20 millimetres of rain, which is good for the garden, but not too cold. And a top of 19 degrees and 19 again on Thursday, and then another 10 millimetres, which is also great for the garden, and more showers on Friday and 17 degrees. And I'm sure there'll be little pockets of sunshine on the weekend.
Oh, it sounds like you like your gardening, Shane.
I love my gardening.
There we go, something I didn't know. Thanks so much for joining us, Shane.
No worries.
And all the best for tonight. And if you'd like to donate, the details are on the screen now. And let's give childhood cancer the boot, Pete.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Maddie and Shane. Great to have you both in the news. And Melbourne, that's what's news this Friday. From the news team, all of us, have a wonderful grand final weekend and good night.